Once upon a time, there lived a family of 3, a farmer, his 2 sons, and a walnut tree. The elder son was strong and tall, so he worked on the farm from spring until fall. He woke at dawn to till the field. He toiled till dusk for a great crop yield. The younger son was clever and witty, so the father favored the son who was pretty. He allowed him to stay indoors and keep the books, rather than ruin his hands and his ravishing good looks. More than these 2, the father loved his land. He loved the grains and the earth like his own right hand. Yes, oh yes, he loved this land above all that was his, except a good drink, some ale with a head of fizz. He would gamble at night when the boys were asleep. He would gamble away his chicks and his sheep. But one day, he drank too much and gambled a lot. To lose everything he owned, he never would have thought. He wouldn't give up all his property. What about my son, the one that's not as pretty? I could trade him who's used to working with his hands, and if he accepts, I can keep my sweet land. The decision was made and the choice was clear. He would sell the eldest and keep the son most dear. And so the man accepted and took in the young boy, barely all grown, yet his childhood already destroyed. The eldest left his father's house unwillingly. Despite knowing his duty, he left quite bitterly. Over 10 years, he learned and mastered everything. From just a stable boy, he became a knight for the king. It was just in time, too, for the kingdom was at war. The enemy was advancing. They were close to the door. The king sent out all of his best men, including our knight. He sent them to the front lines to fight and fight and fight and fight. After 3 long years, the war was finally decided. The knight had won, yet the kingdom was divided. To reunite the land, the king sent out dozens of surveyors. To be in charge was his best knight, the eldest son, the manslayer. He was assigned to look for land that had been pillaged and sacked. In the king's name, it would be repossessed and retracked. After resting off his injuries, he left the castle's safe walls. He took nothing but his horse, a snack, and a map of all. He seized lands that needed better care. He left those that, through the war, had done quite fair. Soon he stumbled upon some fields quite familiar. A small house and porch. He knew one quite similar. It had an old walnut tree with branches that reached 10 feet wide. It was barren with no fruit and sparse leaves, yet had not died. He touched the brown dirt, hoping for life. All he felt was dry sand, no moisture and all strife. "Who goes there?" said a gravelly voice within. "Is it my beloved son, at last released from prison?" "No, 'tis not your fairest son, but your eldest. Tell me, dear father, where is the youngest?" "I taught him my folly of gambling and drink. Of his fate behind bars, I can't bear to think." Without waiting a moment, our knight took flight, by foot to the prison, fearing his father was right. He did not have to search very long before he saw his younger brother behind bars for his wrong. Our knight saw his brother whose fair hair had turned gray, his beauty long gone and his eyes turned away. "Oh, father, oh, brother, what can I do when all my kind efforts you insist to eschew? It was just 13 years ago you threw me aside, and here I am now with the choice to decide. I could just leave you both here to collect your prizes, for lives of debauchery, ensuring your demises. Both of you have let your vices ruin our family, and your punishment, I admit, I do long to see. But then again," thought our knight, "you're my only kin, and is it not through mercy your souls I can win? I could shun you and leave you and distribute your land, but what right have I to force God's hand? If it were not for your cruelty so long ago, I would not be the king's advisor now, even so. What if my selling and purchase was not fate gone amiss, but rather I was destined for a time such as this?" Our knight felt at peace with these thoughts in his head and saw that there really was no more to be said. He bailed out his brother and nursed his father to health. He bought back their land and gave them half of his wealth. Through mercy, he restored their family of 3, a farmer, his 2 sons, and a walnut tree.